Can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Again.
Okay. Okay. Aloha and welcome to the Department of Hawaiian Homeland's Grants Information Meeting. My name is Gigi Kyrell. I am the department's grants specialist, and I will be doing the presenting this evening. With me today is Cedric Dwart. He is our Information and Community Relations Administrator. He will be joining, I believe he's on the line actually now. So I want to make sure that everyone knew who the DHHL staff are here today. Before we begin, I am announcing that this meeting on October 27, 2020 is being recorded. We ask that you mute your computer microphones, and if you are on the telephone, please mute that as well. It helps to keep the background noise at a minimum. Aloha and welcome again. For your safety and the safety of the department staff, we are conducting this as a virtual meeting using the Microsoft Teams platform. There is also a phone-in option, and we have many who have joined us by phone. And mahalo for taking the time out from your family and your busy schedules to join us this evening. This meeting is optional. In a little bit, we will go over the tools on how to participate in this virtual meeting. This evening, we will go over the basics for the department's grants. The presentation will start with the COVID-19 relief grant. Then we will take questions. Then we will go back to the slides and cover the regional plan priority project grant, and then take questions. Information on the presentation is straight out of the request for proposal packets. Hopefully everyone had a chance to read through the RFP prior to the meeting. For a quick overview, in June 2020, the Hawaiian Homes Commission approved a budget of $1 million total for the department's Community Development Grants Program for this current fiscal year 2020 to 2021. We are making available 2 grants through the state procurement method called competitive sealed proposals, also called request for proposals or RFPs. The first grant is the Project Implementation Grant, which is specifically for COVID-19 relief projects only. Secondly, we are offering the Regional Plan Project Priority Grant, which many of you are already familiar with. We will review the COVID relief grant packet first, and then we will move on to the Regional Plan Grant. I like to call this the 5 W's presentation, the basic who, what, where, when, and why. Before we begin, let's briefly go over the tools on how to participate in this virtual meeting. And please bear with us as we too are learning the new normal in conducting virtual meetings. For those of you experienced at this, mahalo for your patience. And one last thing, if for some reason I get disconnected and the presentation stops, please hold on for a few minutes while I get back online. How to participate in this virtual meeting. First, when you enter a Teams meeting, this is the screen you will see. The main thing to look for is the bar in the middle of the screen. Focusing on the bar, there are several tools that you may use. First is the mute button. I see most everyone has their microphones on mute. If you do not see the icon you're looking for, there are these 3 dots, and you can click on that for more options. There is also the raised hand icon, and when it's your turn, we will call on you to unmute your microphone. Lastly, there is the chat box. This allows you to type in your question or comment at any time during the presentation. And this is similar to sending a text message on your phone. We will be taking chat box questions first at the end of the presentation. This is what the chat box looks like. You type in your question at the bottom of the screen, and then you hit send. Should be a little triangle, which is the send button. And again, we encourage you to use the chat box as a preferred method because we will take the chat box first after the presentation, and it also helps to become a record of your question and our response. Lastly, we'd like to go over our meeting Kuleana. This is especially important because of this new virtual meeting method. We all have Kuleana to make this a productive meeting. We ask that you please be respectful of the person talking and give chance for others to speak before speaking again. If for some reason the meeting becomes too disruptive, we may mute all attendees. You can use the chat box at any time, and at the end of the presentation, we will go to the chat box first before taking questions from the floor. You may also raise your hand and wait for the facilitator to call on you. Any off-topic questions or comments will be deferred and placed in a parking lot. If we do not get to your question, you may also send us an email to dhhl.planning@hawaii.gov. Okay, there are 2 solicitation notices. Please make careful note of the request for proposal or RFP numbers. There are 2 places to download the grant applications. On the DHHL website, the procurement page, and also on the State Procurement Office HANDS website. What is HANDS? It is the Hawaii Awards and Notices data system where all state agency solicitations are required to be posted. Everything you need is in the packets, the instructions, the criteria, and the point scoring. Also, the forms are all in Word version for easier convenience for you to type in. And as an added convenience, there is a checklist on the last page of the RFP, page 28. And again, hopefully folks had a chance to review the packets before coming to this meeting. The source of funds for these grants is from the Native Hawaiian Rehabilitation Fund, or NERF. Because we are using NERF funds, per Hawaii administrative rules, beneficiaries of the proposed project must be Native Hawaiians as defined by the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. For those looking for match funds, NERF funds are trust funds, so they may help to count towards any non-federal and non-county match. And please note, always check with your other funders on their match requirements. So let's start with the why for the project implementation grant. So why is DHHL offering this grant? Mainly, it is to rapidly deploy resources to provide immediate assistance to beneficiaries directly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. It's also to help provide relief to the most basic needs: food, housing, health, jobs, safety. And we too like to see our resources leveraged with other resources. Who is eligible? It's pretty simple. Any nonprofit with a federal 501c3 tax-exempt status. If you do not have a 501c3 status, you may use a fiscal sponsor with a nonprofit 501c3 status. I get a lot of questions about fiscal sponsorship, so I decided to put together this list of what is a good fiscal sponsor. This is in no way a comprehensive list. It's just a few bullets to give folks an idea of what to look for in a fiscal sponsor. They can provide a service for you, and they will charge for it. So you might want to think about shopping around. Some offer sponsorship for free, which is okay too. Just make sure you get what you need from the sponsor. Good sponsors have good communications with you and an excellent working relationship. They also have worked with you before and you had a good experience. Good sponsors actively mentor you so that if you choose to become your own 501c3 in the future, you'll have learned the ropes. Also note that some groups never seek to become a 501c3. They like having a sponsor so they're able to focus and dedicate themselves to the project and leave the administrative pala humbug to the fiscal sponsor. Sponsors also have a written agreement on what tasks they will do and what tasks you will do. Fiscal sponsorship is in their line of business. And what do I mean by that? They have a track record of sponsoring other groups in addition to delivering their own services and programs. And lastly, a good fiscal sponsor has the capacity to take you on as a client. And what do I mean by that? It's like a tax preparer. If it's a small shop, they can only take so many clients. A larger shop can take hundreds of clients. Make sure you find a sponsor that has the time and can focus on you as the client and your needs. So it really depends on you and what's the best arrangement for you. A side note on current DHHL grantees, if you have an open grant with the department and you are delinquent in reports or you're out of compliance, you are basically not eligible for this round of new grants. You can remedy the situation if you send in your reports and address any compliance issues before the grant deadline. The grant deadline is December 9. And just as a reminder, there is a reporting deadline coming up this Friday, October 30. So here's your chance to catch up. Okay, so what is this grant about? Again, it's to rapidly deploy resources. And what do you think that means? It means hit the ground running. We want to see funds out the door, spent, and a maximum number of beneficiaries served as quickly as possible. This grant has a total of $500,000 available statewide. There is a $200,000 maximum award per organization. And this one does have a time limit. Funds must be spent within 24 months or 2 years from the contract effective date. Any remaining funds will be returned to NERF. Again, the idea is to rapidly deploy resources, thus the time limit. So just quickly doing the math here, if we get 3 strong proposals, each asking $200,000, we'll already be over budget. Again, this is kind of a small amount, but it is, it is the first time we are offering this grant for the COVID relief, for COVID relief projects. What are eligible projects? Again, the idea is to rapidly deploy resources and provide immediate relief to beneficiaries. So that's a pretty broad statement. This includes and is not limited to assistance that keeps beneficiaries housed, fed, healthy, employed, and safe. In your proposal, we ask that you be clear on how your organization determined that the proposed project is needed and how it will address beneficiary needs. Examples are needs assessments, surveys, client intake reports, or something similar to document beneficiary needs and to support your proposed project. These funds are not to do the needs assessment or set up the administrative systems or create your client forms. You would have already done that already. These funds are to implement a COVID relief project. And again, the idea is to get immediate assistance to beneficiaries. Lastly, provide factual or statistical information that your proposed project will have a positive impact on the beneficiaries. When and where? Applications are due by 4 p.m. Wednesday, December 9, 2020. One original paper copy is required. This is not a postmark date. Applications must be received in the DHHL Kapolei office. No emails, no faxes, and no applications accepted at any of the DHHL Neighbor Island offices. Found on page 4 of the RFP is the overall schedule for the grant process. This is for planning purposes only, and this schedule may change at any time. So here we are today in October for the informational meetings. The deadline, December 9. In the month of December, the department will review the applications, and we hope to be scheduled for the January Hawaiian Homes Commission meeting to present the recommendations. February and March, notifications to all applicants, whether you were awarded or not, you will receive a written notification, and we will begin contracting process with awardees. The estimated grant start date is May 2021, and we are estimating a 2-year spend down timeline with a grant end date of May 2023. Oh, okay. We are at the questions. Okay, let me switch over to the chat box. Okay. So are there any questions at this time on the COVID relief project implementation grant?
Can I ask a question via teleconference?
Yes, please.
Daniel Ornelas here on Maui, Waihuku. You know, we're experiencing a significant reduction in association fees that supports our landscape and maintenance of common areas. Would that be an eligible expense that could be covered in this time?
Okay, let me make sure I heard the question right. So this would be homeowner dues, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes, that would be, it sounds like it could be eligible in terms of you'll need to show in your proposal, if you can, provide information about how COVID has affected beneficiaries and thus their inability to make their dues payments, and any data. Are we talking a third of the families, half of the families? And then same thing with the dollar amounts, because you mentioned landscape maintenance. So are you seeing, again, describing what the reduction is? Is it a 25% reduction in trying to cover your costs? Information like that. So you do need to show, again, if you're going to use this funds to help cover this reduction in homeowner dues, generally that sounds okay. It's going to really come down to the write-up of how you connected the impact of COVID on the beneficiaries, and then how this is going to provide relief to the beneficiaries.
Got
Does
it.
that help?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to mute again.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I don't have anything in the chat box. Okay, I will go ahead and switch over to the regional plan grant. So let me share my screen again. Okay. So this actually will go a little faster because many of the requirements are the same. So regional plan priority project grant. Why is the department doing this? It's mainly to assist beneficiaries to implement regional plan priority projects that are identified in the most recently approved regional plans, and also to help leverage department resources with other resources, federal, state, or otherwise. Who is eligible? Same as COVID, nonprofit 501c3s, or if you do not have the 501c3 exemption, then a fiscal sponsor helping you out. Same side note, if you are a current department grantee, you have an open grant with us. If you're missing any reports or delinquent or out of compliance, you are not eligible for these new grants until you get caught up with your reports and compliance issues before the grant deadline of December 9. So what is this grant for? Again, it's to support beneficiaries to implement priority projects identified in a DHHL regional plan. There is a list of the eligible projects. It is included as Exhibit A in the request for proposal packet. So this one is pretty clear as to which projects are eligible. There's $500,000 total available statewide. And any one organization may apply for up to $100,000. Again, doing the math, if we get 5 strong applications, each coming in at $100,000, that'll quickly eat up the entire budget. So it really depends on who comes in, how much they ask for, and how strong the proposals are. A typical grant period is 2 to 4 years. The time period on this grant is flexible. Okay, again, what are eligible projects? Only those projects identified in a regional plan that was approved by the commission. For convenience, we included a simple list of all those projects in the RFP. If you want to read more about the regional plan priority projects, the full regional plans are all posted on the DHHL website. Same when and where. Due date 4 p.m. Wednesday, December 9, 2020. Applications only received at the department's Kapolei office. Okay, so for both grants, a complete grant application consists of 4 parts. Part 1 is the basic cover sheet, simply a form, name, address, and signatures. Part 2 is where you want to spend the bulk of your time. This is where you lay out your proposal, your scope, budget and timeline. This is the meat of the application. Part 3 are the forms and attachments. And just a quick note, there are some sample forms that are labeled as samples. We ask that you print them out on your organization's letterhead and customize it using your own words. I've had applications come in where they simply sign the sample and it still said sample on it. So unfortunately, those had to get returned. So again, if at the top you see it's a sample form, print it out on your letterhead and customize it for your organization. And then part 4 is anything else, any other materials that you want to include, letters of support, reports, articles, photos, anything that will help support your proposal. And again, in both of the RFPs, there is a checklist on page 28, the last page, that should help guide you through all of the pieces needed for a complete application. Same schedule, the regional plan has the same schedule as the COVID. And then hopefully, if we can get all the contracts in place for the awardees, we'll have a start date of May 2021, is our best estimate at this time. Okay. Any questions on the regional plan priority grants? Let me go back to the screen here. All right. Okay, we got a hand up from Kaleo.
Hello, Gigi.
Aloha.
Hi. Can that the regional grant be a supplement to our existing fog drip system?
You can apply because the fog drip system is identified in Kahikinui's regional plan. And of course, you'll need to describe what this additional funds would be used for, because you already have a scope on your first grant with us. So generally, we like to see a different scope, and or if you determine that you are over budget in your current project, and that's the reason why you're applying for additional funds, that would be another possible reason for a proposal. So yes, it is eligible because it is a project in the regional plan. Any current grantees in good standing, they of course can have multiple DHHL grants at the same time. That's not a problem. So does that help?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, sorry. Did I miss somebody? I'm sorry.
Teleconference raising my hand. I don't know how else to do it.
Go ahead.
Daniel Ornelas, Waihuko. In the regional plan, we have a project which is described as investigate feasibility of use of Waioko vacant lands. I'm curious what feasibility study means. Is that akin to HRS 343 environmental assessment, or is that significantly different?
You know, Daniel, that's a subject matter question, and I am not familiar with the Maui regional plans, so I will have to get back to you on this question. Is there anything in the regional plan that describes it a little more?
Well, in the regional plan language, they have here, I'll just read it verbatim, it's really short. Investigate feasibility use of Waioko vacant lands between phases 3 and 4. to not adversely affect the flood insurance rates for Waiuko 3. And then project components include community garden, crop planting, agriculture production, history, permaculture. I believe the purpose and intent of even putting this on the list was we were going to go in for the right of entry so we can conduct the studies and eventually request a long-term disposition pursuant to Hawaiian Homes Commission Act 207, you know, the community pasturing deal. And then I guess this would satisfy any Chapter 343 considerations of that long-term disposition. That's my understanding of why it made this list.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And as you know, an EA is always needed on Hawaiian homelands. Yeah, if there wasn't any more specific direction in there, and your proposal is in line with what this says in the regional plan, that should be eligible. And generally, what we do for any regional plan project proposals, I always check with the planning liaison person in our office for any history. So they're not an official part of the review committee, but because they are the subject matter expert, I usually run these regional plan proposals by the liaison. So hopefully our liaisons have enough of the history of what the intent of this project.
Got it. So please be advised, we are in communication with Minukio and Hiraga. They're an outfit that does these types of studies and work, and we're going to put together a proposal, and we might mix the language between feasibility and Chapter 343 compliance, but please do know the intent is to meet the objective of this regional plan.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? And if you are on the phone, please jump in, because that's about the only way we can recognize you. All right. Well, I'll go back to pretty much my last slide. Okay. Yep, there's pretty much my last slide. Just some basic reminders for both of the grants. Carefully read through the RFPs and follow the instructions. Incomplete applications will be automatically returned. Applications only accepted at the Department Kapolei office. And applications must include a compliance certificate from Hawaii Compliance Express. So if you do anything, the first thing you do after you leave today's meeting is check to make sure you have a compliance certificate. This is required by the state at time of application. There's no fudge room. If we don't have a compliance certificate, you're automatically disqualified. So you or your sponsor, if you're using a sponsor, make sure you are up to date and you submit that certificate with the application. If you are current DHHL grantee, again, no reports equals no new grants. So please try and get everything caught up before the application due date. And just lastly, here's the website again, where the packets are posted for both grants. After today, if you have more questions, please email the dhl.planning@hawaii.gov. And that will help us to better manage inquiries coming in. And that's about all I had. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I know we posted this to go till 7:30. I am more than happy to stay until 7:30. because it was publicly posted. And also, if other folks end up joining in later, that's okay too. Otherwise, have a good evening and stay safe and healthy out there. And so I will hang out for about the next hour here.
Thank you, Gigi.
You're
Mahalo.
welcome.
Mahalo,
Mahalo.
Gigi.
So any other questions? Go ahead and chime in, and you can unmute yourself or type in the chat box or call other homesteaders to come join the meeting.
I'm actually trying to X out of here.
Oh, there should be a big red square or rectangle that says leave or has a telephone on it.
Okay.
Hi, Gigi. Gigi.
Aloha.
Aloha. This
Yes.
is Jeannie. Hi, I'm Jeannie Andrade. We're with the Kekaha Hawaiian Homestead Association for the Pu'apai project.
Oh, okay.
I was just curious on the grant process. If it was to turn in an application, next week or so, do we find out results right away, or how does that process? Sorry.
Yeah, so on page 4 of the RFP is the schedule. So we do have to wait until the December 9 deadline, and then all applications will be reviewed in the month of December by a committee.
Mhm.
Then the committee scores all the applications and then prepares the write-ups, and then all of that gets submitted to the Hawaiian Homes Commission in January. And then when the commission makes the decisions at the January meeting, then we send out letters to everyone, whether if you got awarded or if you did not get awarded. And then with the awardees, we start the contracting process, which that usually takes a couple months because we have to prepare contract documents that
Mhm.
get reviewed. And so that's why we're estimating the grant start dates to be in May. So, but it really depends on it's actually the contract effective date. That's the actual date. But that's the overall process. So if you submit your application tomorrow,
Mhm.
it's going to sit in a box, until all the applications come in December 9. Yeah, we can't touch them because it's a very formal state procurement process. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. I should back. We do a quick check to make sure all the papers and forms and certificates are in there. Because if it's not a complete application, then we will automatically return it. We can't accept it. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks, Gigi.
You're welcome.
Aloha, Gigi.
Yeah. Aloha.
Hi, this is Lima.
Hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Okay, so I got on late, Kalamai, but some of my team members were on. So, Waimanalo hasn't been meeting since, I don't know, maybe March. And so our organization, which is not a part of the association, do we need a letter of support from them if we put in?
You know, it helps, but you know, you do what you can do. You know, because I always tell other communities that if you're going to do something in a homestead, it'd be good to have a support letter, you know, from the association or other, like some homesteads have a neighborhood watch group, you know, others have like like a meals kind of committee thing. So any kind of support from
Well,
beneficiaries.
I'm the chair of the Economic Development Committee, but again, we're not meeting. So I'm gonna write one letter. I just trying to get a better, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to do that.
Well, let me put it this way.
Okay.
If you can get a letter, it would help the proposal, because that's reviewers always ask that. You know,
Sure.
the first, you know, when they look at the project, they look at what homestead is going to serve. Then the next question is, okay, did that homestead give a letter of support?
Okay.
You know, that's always like the next question. And if it's not, if there isn't one, then you know that's when we kind of wonder, right?
Sure.
You know, and a lot of times we really don't know the situation.
Sure.
But you know, if there's another proposal that comes in, you know, that says, you know, we're gonna do this project in 4 Kapolei homesteads, and they got 4, you know, they got individual letters from each of those homesteads. You know, that one's gonna have that one, you know,
Gonna
and
have
the
more
project,
weight.
yeah, it's gonna have more weight. That's really, you know, so again, you know, we can't predict what's going to come in the applications.
Sure.
But that's really what it comes down to.
Okay, thank you. Good, and that's a good segue. So my other question is that so we've been doing our aquaponics project for 11 years now, and
Oh
we
yeah,
had
I
so we
remember
had
that.
inquiries. Yeah, we had inquiries from like Kauai and the Kauai High Homestead and couple other ones. So I know you mentioned like all the 4 Kapolei homesteads, which is right next to each other. But what happens if we wanted to do one pilot program? So we're doing one manual right now that is funded by Queens, and we wanted to pilot test them, and we was thinking we wanted to go to multiple homesteads. So they went.
Oh yeah,
You know, so
you
I
can
don't
do
know.
that. You
Yeah.
can do that.
So of course Waimanalo is always Waimanalo, and so that's going to be a challenge because we don't even have it on Zoom or anything. You know what I mean? We don't even know where to go at this point as far as an association goes and having a meeting. So I guess I would have to call the board and ask them for make one decision over the phone or something like that, and then give us the letter because we get plenty time. But I just, you know, there's a lot of challenges right now in this COVID situation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay, cool. And maybe hopefully I can get on tomorrow morning and listen a little bit better to the first portion. But I know my team member was listening, so that's cool. That's fine.
Good. Okay. Good.
Okay. Good to hear your voice. You take care.
Yeah, good to
Mahalo.
hear from you. Okay, mahalo.
Take care. Aloha.
Aloha.
Wait, let me just finish this. Can you turn the car back on because it's hot? Sorry. Yeah. Okay, honey, son. How does this work? I don't even know how to disconnect.
Okay, it's just about 7:30, and there have been no additional attendees nor questions. So this concludes the grants info meeting for Tuesday, October 27, 2020. Mahalo, everyone.